the real war gamer, here at the gaming table with Rebel Yell, Small Unit Tactics of the American Civil War. Playing Module 1, using the original first edition programmed instruction formatted rules. And I'm starting at the very beginning, Module 1, Bronner's Farm. And I'm definitely going to play... So Bronner's Farm is I believe it's a 5-turn scenario. It is a 5-turn scenario, yes. And this is wrapping up here. There's going to be one more player 2, that is Confederate player action segment, and then that's going to end game turn 3. I at least want to see what's going to happen here, where the Union advanced here to try to close this gap, and on the Union flank is a disrupted Confederate company. I want to see what's going to happen there. They're in the clear. The Union are in the clear. Okay, I want to see what's going to happen there, and so I'm probably going to finish up this turn and probably call Bronner's Farm here. I think that and here's why. It's not just that I think I've gotten everything I need to in a programmed rule sense out of Bronner's Farm, but here I was talking about morale. I was talking about morale earlier, and I'm looking at Module 1 rules, and clearly we have disorganization checks, which is comparing to the, quote, modified morale, end quote. Then we have rally procedure, where you're comparing a die roll to the unit's morale. Just morale. Not modified morale, but just morale. And this was throwing me off, making me wonder, is this correct? Do you use the morale? And the morale modifiers I'm talking about are the ones that are on the player aid card. It's called the movement and morale card. Right down here, morale summary, morale additions. That's for advanced rules, I know that. But here, morale modifiers. That's what I mean. I saw on the card there morale modifiers. So I'm wondering, in the Module 1 rules, is it literally you use the modified morale for disorganization checks, the base morale for rally procedure, even though it doesn't use those terms. It doesn't use base morale. Anyways, I went ahead and I started looking at the Module 2 rules, and sure enough, there's a section under morale additions. We have morale modifiers, and here it says, I was wondering, how do I do with respect to morale modifiers? What do I do for disorganization checks, and what do I do for rally checks? And it's right here, but it's in Module 2. When a unit makes a disorganization check, which is what I was just talking about, or when it attempts to rally, which is what I was just talking about, modify its morale according to the following schedule. And then it explains each of these morale modifiers. So putting 2 and 2 together, I guess that saying modified morale under disorganization checks for Module 1 is the one thing that is misleading and probably incorrect. Now I'm thinking, because no modifiers are discussed in Module 1, I'm assuming that in Module 1 you're always testing against just the morale of the unit, which in Bronner's Farm, both sides have a morale of 6, which means that all units in this scenario have a morale of 6, which I guess means that it's for disorganization and rally, it's just a check rolling 6 or less to pass either side, 6 or less to pass, okay, either side. So I think that it's when Module 2 comes that they introduce point by point the morale modifiers, and it's nice that it specifies that, yes, it's modified morale. So it's never a base morale, I guess. I mean, never meaning the two major things where morale plays with respect to die rolling is a disorganization check and a rally attempt. If there are other examples, I'll get to those later, but those are the two that I found so far. And it looks to me when I go to, so it looks to me like in Module 1, it's just, I guess it's just supposed to be unit morale. And Module 2, it's going to be unit morale modified. Okay. It's just nice that it's cleared. I don't call this a... I think the one problem is they probably should not have used modified morale in the Module 1 rules. They should have just said morale. And that's really only under the disorganization checks. I think that was a mistake. I think that's the only mistake that clears up everything if you discount that. Not a big deal. This is program play, so I'm saying that because you're not really expected to stay on any of the modules as you go through the rules. You're supposed to get through all 7 modules, get through the whole rules. It's not like Module 1 is intended to be a complete, I guess, game product. You're supposed to keep going. And so when I move on very shortly here to the Module 2 rules, I will know that it's modified morale. So first I'm going to see what happens as we finish up Bronner's farm here. Well, the Confederates had no luck on their... Oh, I'm sorry, they had no luck on the far right flank here. But they did have luck here. They disrupted the Union there. And then now that I'm just rolling against base morale, it was, as you would expect, easier to recover or rally on the Confederate line. And they got really lucky. They rolled a 0 on the far Confederate left there and caused an O hit and disruption to the Union far right there. So that's where we end. So I just want to point out that we end game turn 3, moving to 4 here. I'm actually going to go through one more turn now. It goes a lot faster when you're just rolling a base morale. No, I shouldn't say base morale. You're just rolling unit morale of 6. That is an unmodified morale. You're just rolling unit morale for disorganization checks and rally. But what happened here is that as units cycle, obviously at different speeds, I guess you could say, through disruption and good order, now we get to the point where half of the Union line is disrupted, and almost the entire Confederate line is good order. Okay. Set up for Module 2 scenario. Module 2 scenario, White Oak Swamp. So let me first talk about Module 2 rules. The module number 2 extends the previous rules for fire, combat, and morale. It also introduces players to the concepts of advance and en passant fire, to a new unit action, assault, and to regimental flags. That's what these are here, regimental flags, as well as command control. So that's Module 2 rules introduction. Now let's take a look at this White Oak Swamp scenario. Module 2 scenario, White Oak Swamp, June 30th, 1862. During a week of fighting in the spring of 1862, deadly skirmishes often flared as the Confederates sent the Army of the Potomac reeling from the Virginia Peninsula. One vicious little firefight occurred at White Oak Swamp between isolated units of both armies. In this scenario, the leading elements of Stonewall Jackson's division face a Union rearguard. The Yankees must protect the bridge across the creek. It's right here, the bridge across the creek. Here. For just beyond, the Union supply train is scurrying towards McClellan's supply base at Harrison's Landing on the James River. The rebels must force a bridgehead on the far side of the creek, over here, before the Northerners are braced by the arrival of blue artillery. The map boards. We have three of the maps. Again, the maps are long, roughly 2 8.5 by 11 sheets long, or short end to short end, making a long, thin map. We've got map B, map D, and map C, which is turned that way, 180 degrees from the other two. That way is north. So that means that the eastern map board is friendly to the Confederate player. Western map board is friendly to the Union. Now, no unit may move closer than 10 hexes to the northern board edge. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So roughly, yeah, right about there. So it's 3 map boards, side to side, side by side. But that's about the southern 2/3 of the map board. So it's really this play area is the most, not the most. This is right here is the bulk of the play area. And we have reinforcements coming on. I guess each side has a regiment coming on. Each side has 4 regiments too. So we have 1-1 Union, 2-1 Union, 3-1 Union, and 4-1 Union comes on as reinforcement. And on the Confederate side, we have 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, and 4-1 comes on as reinforcements. Setup, 3-1 has to be stacked entirely on the eastern side of the bridge. Is that correct? Yeah, east side of the creek on the pike hex. 1-1 and 2-1 must be set up on board D here on level 4 terrain. Now, it is true that the levels are all, these levels don't help you. So the way to do it, I think, is, well, the way I did it is, I'll tell you exactly how I did it. I assumed that the level with the waterway, the creek, this green is level 1. So then I went up from there. 1, 2, 3. Oops, I'm off the screen. 1, 2, light green. 3 is this pale brown. And then 4 is this grayish brown. It's actually very light. You can see it over here, the distinction. So I went with that's 4. And then 5 is this tan. And then 6 is this brown, and then there is a 7th, which is a darker brown, which I don't see on these 3 maps. That's how I did it. So this is important because 1-1 and 2-1 Union must be set up on board D on a level 4, on level 4 terrain. So I put them here. I put them here and here in echelon, mainly guarding the pike straight onto the objective, understanding that the enemy could flank actually on either side, flank to the north or to the south. I set up the Confederates on basically 3 columns. These 2 following the road, the pike. This one going up over this rise, and this one might actually try to flank through this clearer ground, this clearer ground here. We'll see, but that is pretty much the scenario. Oh, so differences from before. In Bronner's farm, each side had only 1 regiment. Here, of course, we have 4 regiments against 4 regiments. In Bronner's farm, both sides had the same morale, 6. Now we're going to add morale modifiers as well as we're going to have a different morale on each side. So all of the, and by the way, this doesn't have to be like this. Morale is by regiment, but to introduce us to I guess a difference in morale in this scenario, all of the Confederate regiments have a morale of 6. Union have a morale of 7. All 4 Union regiments have a morale of 5. We're still just dealing with smoothbore muskets. Both sides have smoothbore muskets. We also have, in Bronner's farm, we had the USA regiment was a strength of 10 companies against the CSA regiment of 9 companies, which was very, very close, 10 companies to 9 companies. Here we have a big difference. like 3-1, the Confederate 3-1 is only 5 companies, so that's really a half-size regiment. So in game terms, it's a half-size regiment. All the way up to 9-1-1 Confederate is 9 regiments. So we have everything in between. We have 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 company regiments. So we have a big difference there. So to put it another way, the strongest Confederate regiment is 1-1, which is 9 companies at morale 6. And the weakest U.S. company or regiment is 3-1 back here, which is, it's also 5 companies and a morale of 5. Okay. So that's about it for this scenario. So once again, just to give a little preview of the Module 2 rules, what we're adding, we're going to add advanced fire. Well, we're going to add the concept of, let me go in order. We're going to add morale modifiers. We're going to add advance and en passant fire, which means we have to add the concept of the minimum fire zone. We already talked about the fire zone. Now we have the minimum fire zone. Then we're going to add assault. That should be good, and we will get to assault. Or that's one of my goals, is to get to the assault, get through some experience with assault. And then, regimental flags. So these regimental flags are, well, they always go with units of the regiment, and I think they basically define command control. I think the flags define command control, and that's it. So it should be good. A good amount added to the gameplay experience here. Definitely should add some more detail here, and we'll see what happens.